I suppose, achievements in that very impressive list of achievements they already have themselves. Now, one thing I want to see potentially from toxjq is we know toxjq loves that slash pick. Do we think he's going to be going slash, or is it just going to be Anarchy, Nyx, or like from them both regardless? Because these are both players that have used slash a lot, but do you think we'll see it from either of them here?
Well, it
hang
does.
on a minute.
About to say that it looks like they're spending a little bit of time. You know, they're not kind of quickly going into a composition they know they definitely want. You know, k1llsen thought about that for a little bit. Now, both of them going with a slightly different pick than what we're normally used to. So the Nyx and the Sorlag, okay, we totally understood that. But Ranger from toxjq and Doomslayer from k1llsen. Now, we are on Blood Run. This is a very, very popular map to pick actually both of these champions on, because Ranger has that just easy, awesome mobility that he gets with the Dire Orb, but no matter where you are, he can even, you know, throw the Dire Orb through certain little grates on the map and have unique mobility that no one else can have. And then you've got someone like Doomslayer who can sort of navigate that top half and get the heavy armor and those other pickups without having to do any damage to himself or put himself at risk because of double jump. So it's going to be actually quite an interesting matchup between these two champions if they ever go head to head.
But Ranger is one of those champions in the game that I think really has that. I think you hear a lot, easy to play, hard to master. I think Ranger is kind of like the epitome of that, because it's quite easy to pick Ranger, you know, do less damage to yourselves when you're rocket jumping around and doing all this crazy stuff. You're not really hurting yourself much at all. He has decent mobility, decent amount of health, sort of that medium range size and health amount. But then the Dire Orb itself is so versatile, has such a low cooldown, and has so much potential. And we're actually having a fight already taking place, and toxjq dies straight away.
It's quite a classic Sorlag beginning there. You know, when you catch them fresh off the spawn, if you're both right next to each other, I mean, the starter machine gun will do, because you can just spray acid at them, and that's where the bulk of the damage will come from. And then we pretty much saw that immediately. You know, no time wasted. 15 seconds in, toxjq has already lost his Ranger, and he's down to the more traditional. But what really intrigues me about this map is that both of these players are world famous for their rails.
Indeed.
They're some of the best rails in the business.
And this is one of those maps that the rail can be, and is often just a complete game changer.
Oh, yeah.
Itself. But that's going to be a huge trade-off there, as toxjq has used his acid spit. k1llsen still has his and has the health advantage, but and the champion advantage too. So things are very much up for k1llsen right now. But no, he misses the jump. That's going to suck because heavy armor wasn't as safely secured, but he did get it in the end.
Yeah, well, toxjq was he was still remaining to be careful. You know, he didn't want to sort of push too far into that situation. So fortunately for k1llsen, there was no challenge there when he collected the heavy. And actually, funny enough, the same thing about the Mega too, can be said. But there we go back into this slow.
I like this though, k1llsen knowing that rocket launcher is going to be such a big part of just damage dealing in general, and toxjq being hesitant going for it. Thinking, do I go for it, do I not? k1llsen waiting. Looks like the hesitance was safe. Ooh, k1llsen's sure he's up there. toxjq.
I love that play. I absolutely love that play. Just knowing that he knew k1llsen was going to be aiming up by that rocket. That's why he just kind of flicked in, saw him, went in for that rail, and then went back into cover. Evening things out somewhat. Dedicates in for the heavy, but he's taken quite a fair chunk of damage. I mean, on one side, k1llsen's not going to be able to collect that, so he's not going to be able to get that boost of armor.
I would
but
like be inclined to think not worth it, and like,
if hello, one more of those. Oh no, it hits the wall.
No, but that one did 20 health though, very low. Needs anything at this point to kill him. No, he drops the frag, and k1llsen is actually able to survive. I thought that was going to be certain death, guaranteed.
I mean, you would definitely think so, but he just either had the wrong weapon out or he didn't have an LG. And he went in for the rocket instead.
I mean, surely he had a machine gun at least, but there's always a chance he just didn't expect him to be as weak as he was. I mean, obviously, we have the beauty of seeing the damage numbers and the health remaining ourselves, but unfortunately, they don't get to see how much health their opponent has. They just have to use their judgment, I suppose.
But judgment is something both of these players will have after their years and years of experience within competitive Quake. Oh. One of those acid spits that's going to just keep toxjq on the back foot again. I mean, ever since he lost that first champion, this has been quite a difficult one for toxjq. He lost his first champion really early. His Ranger has not had a chance to get anything going.
The round has basically been 2v3 the whole time. Just how early he lost that Ranger. Heavy armor goes towards. This is going to be so hard for toxjq to make this comeback. I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but having no armor is going to make it a lot more difficult, especially considering he's not controlling either of the big pickups right now.
Oh, and just the patience. He just waited for that one audio cue. This just changes things up, where k1llsen is once more going to be allowed to sort of play that patient game if he wants to. He has no reason to overextend.
200 health and almost full armor from k1llsen at the time, and even more so now.
Definitely now full armor.
This is going to be very difficult for toxjq to take down. He's got the Ghost Walk up, but already has to use it. Oh, k1llsen said that should be him dead if he can get this. Oh no, hasn't quite seen him, and he actually does end up going down. He went through the teleporter, but just didn't make the right read on the direction that toxjq was going to be waiting.
I mean, I'll be honest, I had a hard time even seeing where toxjq was there. It just looked like he was just right as he appeared. He just where k1llsen was not looking at all times.
k1llsen with that aggressive Ghost Walk.
Hang on.
Might still go down. No way is toxjq going to bring this round back. Surely not.
Well, he's tied things up at the very least. It's definitely not over.
He has Ghost Walk. He has armor. I mean, he said, don't call it a comeback, but it might actually...
Hang on a minute!
Gets it! What on earth? toxjq out of completely nowhere, being down 2 versus 3 almost the entire round after, I mean, again, I think it's my fault. I think I'm jinxing them.
That's commentator's curse right there.
I mean, that is like the absolute perfect example of the commentator curse.
Either way, that was...
I'm not taking credit for his amazing plays, but toxjq being able to bring that round back after starting off in such a disastrous fashion, that is composure, and that is impressive.
That is the match. 2 legends are going head-to-head, and that is what you expect to see.
Still, you know, k1llsen's going to be kicking himself for that one, letting that round slip through his fingertips.
It's one of those real bittersweet situations, isn't it? Where, you know, if you're on the receiving end, you feel like you were inches away from sealing the deal. But on the flip side, I mean, your opponent played out of their mind to make that happen. But the immediate change, toxjq going in with Sorlag first. I mean, he did lose Ranger ridiculously early in that first round.
Maybe Ranger was attempting the die rob. Yeah, the die rob doing a lot of damage on impact. The telefrag potential to insta-kill. You know, it doesn't matter how tanky you are, telefragging will still take you out.
Yeah, Ranger has got one of the best, I guess you really saw almost like a comeback mechanic, right? Where he lands that die roll and he telefrags, doesn't matter who you are and what your health is, you are dead guaranteed. I mean, that's a straight 10,000 damage or something ridiculous.
Oh, wow. Expect that to miss at all. They get one, though, at the very least.
Yeah, it's going to somewhat undo some of the Mega. Very little of it is actually left. Here comes toxjq with the LG, and his LG has always been absolutely disgusting. You just saw the health melt away.
toxjq. Oh, he made the read on the teleporter, and k1llsen falls for a hook, line, and sinker.
I actually think
sea of nails.
That was a mixture of almost like a bait coming out of toxjq, using that rocket to make it sound like he was round that corner to get k1llsen to activate the teleporter. Like, that was absolutely a forced decision. Perfectly executed by toxjq.
And it paid off. He's taken out that first champion already. Less than 2 minutes into this round, and already toxjq finds himself with the advantage. It's also the Sorlag gun, so it's significantly squishy and Nyx. And the very intimidating Doomslayer waiting in the midst.
Yeah, no reason to overextend there. k1llsen can't really get up that ledge in time unless he rocket jumps. So toxjq using it just to get some free health, but yeah, k1llsen's still there.
See him waiting around at the very least. Spit stock, unfortunately, completely missing. Now, one thing we haven't seen too much today in any of our matches is like a relentless willingness to just really not go for fights at all and play for that clock. I know we said that some players have been capable of doing that, but we haven't actually seen it implemented in such a degree. I think this might be one of those sets where we see timeouts used as a legit weapon in these sets. It's a situation where toxjq is in the lead. It might be significantly seen as a small lead, but it is a lead nonetheless. One champion can be all it takes. So if toxjq is able to sort of just disengage...
Here comes the Ghost Walk.
He
tries the telefrag! I was just about to say, he's looking a little bit close right there. But that was perfectly executed.
But that's the kind of thing that if that goes wrong, you are dead. If k1llsen didn't get the telefrag and just appeared right in front of the Sorlag, I mean, toxjq had his acid spit. That would have been dangerous.
But I mean, if that doesn't show that k1llsen is confident, I don't know what does.
That's so much damage. But he's going to know that k1llsen doesn't have his Ghost Walk after that. At least for a little while longer. He'll be up soon, but quickly top himself back up again. The Mega Health, a bunch of armor, and the Ghost Walk. k1llsen is now right back to being fully lethal.
We have seen how quickly these fights can turn around. I mean, not just even in this series, but the whole day. We've seen some insane comebacks. toxjq probably taking the cream of the crop of the day.
I mean, I don't think we're anywhere close to not seeing any more today, to be completely honest. Oh, there's that Ghost Walk.
The little bit of uncontested LG.
Oh! Wow. Narrowly misses that rail. Big mistake, unfortunately.
Almost surprised to see that one miss. But I mean, this is Nyx. She's got that tiny little hitbox. We've surpassed the 1 minute warning, so sudden death is going to become a threat.
Quite realistic, and the next frag will take it regardless now then. After the pace of how the match has gone so far, 45 seconds, it's hard to believe more than one frag will happen in that time.
I mean, you can just see the hesitation. The hesitation's taking that heavy, waiting until he's confident that there's going to be no one there to challenge him. You can't risk it. You know, you put one wrong foot into heavy armor and you're dead, and in 30 seconds you've got to make a comeback. There's the immediate activation. toxjq just wants to get out of that situation.
Oh, good shot.
No, not returned. That's the thing, not returned by toxjq.
Neither of them have Ghost Walk here. This could be it. k1llsen's going to know toxjq is low. Ghost Walk isn't up for another 20, and we're 10 seconds away from the overtime.
Yep, next frag's going to take this round, that's for sure.
This is going to be a fight for mega health. No, toxjq is just conceding it. Now k1llsen has both.
I feel like conceding some of those like power-ups, or those pickups, I suppose I should say, is it does show a level of conservativeness. You know, just keeping things reserved. Oh.
Again, we see a lot of damage coming out of that teleporter, but not really sticking to it too long. Not really overcommitting. It makes complete sense. Oh, rockets aren't quite connecting yet. Oh,
that was a lot of damage, though, to try and take the heavy for. Somewhat returned, but not by a huge amount just yet. He does make the read, and he risks the heavy armor.
It's quite an intense second round in this first map. toxjq is still up 1. But we know if he can win this, I mean, taking himself 1 round away from taking the first map, if this is how long and how close these rounds are going to be, you do not want to do any more work than you need to.
Here comes k1llsen, he's making the plays. He's caught him, tries to go in for the direct, but misses it. But the recovery rail, very crucial to land.
Oh, he missed a little bit of that.
Oh no, here comes toxjq.
No, toxjq doesn't chase too much. toxjq knew he was too low.
Yep, if there's a chance he's going to die in this fight, he is out of there. No risk at all.
He's sitting in the blood pool, trying to regen some of that. Be rare, you see players sticking that for a long time, but toxjq really had little other options.
He's going in for it again, though, that aggressive ghost walk. He caught toxjq out with the last time. Oh, misses the rail ever so slightly. Catches him mid-air. That flick was absolutely disgusting.
Oh, such a beautiful shot. And that is the exact kind of play we've been talking about that toxjq has, that k1llsen, I should say, has been doing for weeks now. And if he can keep doing that, I mean, after such a long round, coming down to a single left click, right? A single rocket fire mid-air on a small target like that. Very impressive stuff. And now evening things out 1 round apiece. Only round 3 and still in map number 1. We have a lot left to go.
Oh yes, you guys. You can definitely say that again. This could potentially be our longest series of the night.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't, to be honest.
But I feel like that entire final section of the round was just played so carefully but so intelligently by both players, and it just came down to, you know, a mixture of brains but also perfect execution. You know, k1llsen, where they were both playing so smart at the end of that round, but when the time came for that flick rocket, that perfect execution on the mid-air, he was able to land it. A nice combination of both.
But that's the kind of stuff that you see at a high level of play, right? It's not preemptive, it's just that's where you're going to be and that's where I'm going to fire. Knowing the speed of the projectile, knowing where you need to be, and that direct rocket doing 100 damage, I mean, it's too much damage to not be ready to hit, right? You have to be confident going forward. Not sure if k1llsen was trying to get aggressive. Walks straight into some acid, though.
He's done a ton of damage, and in the midst of that, also collected the mega health. So in essence, I mean, that's going to further create the divide. Goes in for the rail. I'm not sure k1llsen was prepared for toxjq to be that close. Yeah, I think if he expected toxjq to be that close, he was going to probably switch something a little bit more close range.
Yeah, I think k1llsen going out around the corner with a rail, I mean, they probably thought toxjq was like running towards the teleport, perhaps. But no, toxjq one step ahead. Oh, and gets hit again. k1llsen getting another nice rocket. k1llsen's rockets have been on point. These are right. These are two players that are known for their rail, but k1llsen's rockets really have been some of the most impressive rockets I've seen in this game so far. And especially over the last 2 weeks, especially, like, he is just playing his rockets particularly have just been on like another level. Oh, unfortunate how that missed, and the follow-up too. I think it could have been a dead toxjq.
Oh. Perfect. Toxic. Oh, man, that was
goodness.
really well played. Gets a nice little combo there.
Kill. Beautiful kill from that distance, too. k1llsen really just unleashing the beast.
I mean, I feel like they're both doing that. Like, they're both playing so insanely well. It's just good knowledge.
And it's map 1, though. It's round 3 of map 1.
I think we're in for a treat.
We are.
We are in for a ridiculously good series. Oh! I mean, that was sick both ways.
I think if it wasn't for the Ghost Walk, that would have been death for sure. There's that Rockets getting a little bit greedy here, I think.
Can he get away? Oh, he does. Barely.
Yeah, Toxic wanted to get away as well. I think that was just 2 players just conceding, going, right, we've hurt each other a lot, let's regroup.
I'm willing to bet so much that if that Ghost Walk was not used, we were going to see a telefrag right there. Toxic's in a little bit of trouble. Again. Toxic isn't a bit of spot of bother here, though, with k1llsen sort of, well, once more, controlling that Mega, controlling that Heavy. As long as he's got the Ghost Walk too, he's going to be so deceivingly difficult to take down. And just to reiterate, I mean, the clock is a very dangerous weapon when you have 2 minutes left, you've got 1 champion of a lead, and you've got these survivability tools.
Oh, so much damage there. Very unlikely to teleport, but fires a rocket there just in case. Oh, there's that aggressive Ghost Walk. Toxic.
He's not ready.
Seen him. That's going to be a frag, probably, unless he drops this one. Unlikely to do so, and that's going to be another frag. Another round for k1llsen. This has been a really good back and forth so far. This is exactly what I was hoping to see.
I mean, he's got great mileage out of those, you know, assassination Ghost Walks with Nyx. But to be honest, because you can't see or hear the activation from that range, you can't really, I mean, unless you're prepared for it at all times, it's hard to deal with. It's very hard to see coming, especially in a situation like that when you've just recovered off a fight. Might be the last thing that you're thinking about.
The big thing is you'll hear her go into Ghost Walk even if you don't see her. That's kind of usually the giveaways. You hear her do it, so you put your back to a wall, you start looking around, you assume, okay, right, well, if she's attacking, where is she going to come from? If you don't hear her and she sees you, it's almost guaranteed damage.
Or you see that nice little blue effect.
Oh yeah, of course, but there's only so ready you can be. If you don't hear her go into it, I mean, it's almost guaranteed damage.
I mean, this is kind of a... Do you just sit there and let k1llsen burn through every single nail he's got until you take the Mega? I actually kind of looked like Toxic was prepared to wait it out. Yeah, and he meets him head on!
Toxic was happy to sit there and wait for him to shoot as many nails as possible because he had no reason to rush, he had no reason to walk into them. Wait for the stream to stop, it means he stopped firing, and there you go.
k1llsen just did significantly more damage in that exchange. Actually doing a little bit more self-damage on the super nails just to guarantee the heavy armor in time.
Those rockets coming through, Mega Health could be up any second. We know how dangerous it is to try and go for it sometimes. Oh, there's that peak. Trying to bait k1llsen into wasting a rail, I think. Trying to catch him on the wind-up time, cooldown time, I suppose, in between the shots. Oh,
wow.
Nowhere.
That was a nice shot.
Still, we see Toxic doesn't have any armor. Heavy armor being secured. k1llsen really has just been controlling everything so far. Running through. I don't think k1llsen's going to be in a rush to follow him through anymore, considering how many times he was dying earlier on thanks to it. And looking through, this is back to that patient play, that sort of... I don't want to say stale game style, because there's definitely a reason to it, right? It's that sort of defensive, highly cautious. I think that's a better way of putting it, right? It's a very cautious style of play. They're in lower bracket. If they lose, they're out. Only one of them can make it to Dreamhack Winter, where they are playing for a colossal amount of money. Be as careful as you need to. But
here comes another fight.
Yeah,
k1llsen's got the Mega. That's going to turn the tide. And in fact, if k1llsen wanted to push that, he potentially could have. But at the same time, they can go back to this game plan, and now k1llsen's going to have the advantage. He just has simply way more health.
You can see k1llsen really trying to keep Toxic away from this health pickup as well. He doesn't want him to get anything back, and there we go, the combo kill. Toxic going in for the health, and k1llsen ready to make him pay for it immediately with a nice rocket into follow-up railgun.
That's not even the first time we've seen that either. It's just a nice little two-piece. Toxic's actually kind of looking to do the same thing that was done to him, but unfortunately reappearing right in front of a Sorlag with Acid Spit ready. You are dead.
I actually think that was perfectly timed from k1llsen too. Like, he timed the Acid Spit right as Toxic was coming out of the Ghost Walk. So the final blob of acid just hit Nyx right in the face.
Just maximize its usefulness. Now Toxic is in a very tough situation.
Well, Toxic actually picked up the Mega Health during that fight as Nyx. There's only so much damage you can sponge. Sorlag does so much. Bad situation for Toxic to be in. He has to make a full comeback with just Ranger. If he loses the round, he loses the map. And that is not the situation you want to be in. The maps are going down this long. And
I wonder if
wide.
toxjq is going to risk it on a telefrag. Because against the Sorlag with this stack, I mean, if you telefrag Sorlag and she goes down here, you're going to undo every ounce of health and armor she's got.
You said it yourself, right?
But it's risky.
Comeback character. If you can get a telefrag, if you can get a die roll kill, steps his toe into it.
Oh!
Is he alive?
Oh, barely.
Barely. But if you go for a dire orb kill and you get it, sweet, comeback begins. Go for a dire orb kill and miss it, you're basically guaranteed dead. And toxjq, very low now, specks of life. Probably under 5 health with that little left.
And now the timer once more is not his friend. He has just a mere minute to make something happen.
Oh, only just missing. I thought for sure that was going to connect. Say, how did that miss? Looked for sure it was going to hit.
Actually, it potentially could have done. toxjq has been weak quite consistently.
He's got the acid too. He heard the armor get picked up. He knows he's there, and he goes in for the kill and will not drop it. That is a map number 1 on the table for k1llsen. I mean, beautiful play. He was sitting around listening. You saw him sitting still doing nothing. As soon as toxjq picked up that health, he heard it. His acid was back. He went around, and without wasting any time, immediately straight back in there.
But it's one huge thing that k1llsen, I think, has done a great job of whilst, I guess, leveling up within Quake Champions. I know we talked about this beforehand, but the fact that he was going to go back after QuakeCon and grind the game for like the new chapter of Quake and what it is, I feel like his ability to be aggressive when he knows he can afford to be aggressive. It's just simple things of, you know, like even when you're going to be using someone like a Sorlag and go, right, well, I've got my acid spit, I've got my LG, I've done sufficient damage with the rail, I'm probably going to win this fight, and he's now dedicating to it. There was a level of, I guess, players being reserved before what we're seeing right now that we're not really seeing anymore.
Not
Players are being a little bit more
the kill
confident.
was guaranteed.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of wind the clocks back to the first sort of series of the day where it was Razy versus Avec. And we saw both players, even in what was not necessarily a guaranteed win, they would, instead of sort of retreating back up, topping themselves up, getting health, getting armor, they would go straight back into the fight. Where they had an LG going, right, well, he's not expecting me to go in here, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Whereas now, that's back to the more traditional, neither of us died. One of us might be able to get the frag here, but we're both going to be careful on top up. And that's kind of what I expect we'll see a bit more of as the map goes through. I don't know if we'll see toxjq stick with Ranger. That could have been map dependent. That could have just been him trying something out. But
that third pick, it always kind of looks like a variable, doesn't it? You know, where I've got 2 champions, and when we change map, that's where I might switch something up a little bit. That's where you'll see the Galena come out, or the Doomslayer, or in this topic, or in this case, might be Slash, because the next map is going to be Blood Covenant. Now, this excites me because you've got k1llsen, who has a fantastic Slash, but then you've got toxjq, who really, I guess, from an EU front, kind of wrote the book on Slash early on. I think Cypher and toxjq sort of combined really brought this champion into the woodwork when Quake Champions, you know, sort of first came out. But do we see it here? That's what I wonder. Also, this map, toxjq has been known to play fantastically well on Blood Covenant, even against players like Razy, for example, where at QuakeCon, he pulled out some pretty impressive plays. And if memory serves me well, I do believe it was on Blood Covenant, where he just slowed the pace down just exponentially, and it was the change of pace that helped him so massively. But hang on a minute, here's the other variable you just don't see very often.
So, toxjq bringing out the off-meta picks. So both players going in for Slash. You called it. You said this is a popular pick on this map, particularly, especially with players like this, where
especially with these two
yes,
as
when
well.
When toxjq has been playing Slash since before it was cool, and k1llsen just being very comfortable with the champion now, having played her a lot already. However, toxjq, the one that really, the elephant in the room, toxjq has just picked Scalebearer, and Scalebearer is not a champion you see very often at all. So the question is, how used to Scalebearer will k1llsen be? How sort of comfortable and familiar with fighting the champion will he be? And also, we used to see toxjq. I mean, Scalebearer was kind of like the first champion we saw toxjq bring to the table, all the way back to when the Quake World Championships first started, where
all the free-for-alls he would stream was Scalebearer.
yeah, of course, like
just charge everywhere.
He'd like prioritize Scalebearer almost over everything else, and he would do phenomenally well. The charge just being that insta-kill potential, especially against, again, we know that k1llsen is bringing in the Slash, bringing in the Nyx. Now, we know that's 2 champions that are quite vulnerable to just being plowed into by Scalebearer. The Sorlag, less so much, but still, you know, it will take a lot of damage from that charge if you can get it underway. And I'm hoping it's some cool things. And Toxic starting with the Scale Bearer too. That's what I like to see.
I'm going to ask you a question. We've seen Scale Bearer picked first. Do you think that's an answer to the prediction of Sorlag going first? Or do you think Toxic may have anticipated a slash and was expecting to maybe catch her off guard and just delete her outright?
I think Scale Bearer wouldn't have been a bad pick regardless who this is, because Scale Bearer, like I said, right, the charge will one-shot Nyx, it will potentially one-shot Slash. And even if you started with the Sorlag, the damage reduction of the charge, being able to charge to nullify, or half the damage of the damage over time is going to be huge. If you find yourself very low, after a fight and you get hit by acid, you've still got your Bull Rush, you can go for that for the damage mitigation. And even then, right, just being able to outrun Sorlag, just being able to get away, get into the fight, whatever you want. And the Bull Rush has a deceivingly low cooldown as well. Like already, we heard him use it before and it's already back. Now he just has to get a read or listen out for where k1llsen might be, trying to go for it again. But this is potentially Toxic's last chance, his last map. This is a first to 2 map situation, so Toxic is betting his entire Dreamhack Winter chances on this Scale Bearer choice. So there must be confidence here.
Oh, wow. Tries to get away, but unfortunately, I mean, even though he takes 50% reduced damage while he's in that charged state, he just did not have enough health to sponge the remaining damage on that railgun.
Hey man, if he got shot with any other weapon, he probably would have survived.
Oh, wow.
And there's a follow-up. k1llsen straight into the air, and wonderful shot from Toxic, catching him on the way down. Beautifully played. And that's going to bring Toxic single-handedly back into the fight. But there's the immediate spawn. Now, do we see k1llsen chase this? Because he did get hit by midair immediately direct, I think.
I mean, he took a huge chunk of damage right there. A huge chunk, but now he's in a very difficult situation. All he needs to do is pepper some of that machine gun fire, and I think it was just really well executed. And it's quite the funny thing when 2 slashers are going head-to-head. I mean, k1llsen kind of expected that Toxic kind of had to go in and try and go for that armor instead, because if it... Oh, wait, another really nice mid-air before I can even finish my talking point. But I feel like it's just nice awareness, knowing where Toxic is likely to go, because he kind of has to run off to a different location to heal up or get heavy armor and just head him off, because he's just got better movement. He's controlling the high ground, so you're going to get there faster. And the second Toxic was kind of stuck in between the staircase and the bridge, he couldn't really prevent that machine gun fire from connecting 100%.
So Toxic has started with Slash this time instead of Scale Bearer, so being a little bit more comfortable with this, I think, here, at the very least.
I feel like now he knows that k1llsen is likely to go Sorlag first, Slash is definitely a better option, I would say. We've seen Toxic actually against the likes of Razy on this exact same scenario where he would essentially had lost 3 rounds very convincingly, and then we go on a map like this, and he would just slow the pace down just so much with this exact match, where he would eliminate the Sorlag by being very patient, very calm, and he would just stay out of arm's reach the entire round and pick off with rails. And when the fight was possible, he would then go in for the kill when Sorlag was weak enough where she couldn't really fight. And then the second she was off the board, Toxic would just keep that snowball going and in many ways win through sheer patience alone. Now, if he doesn't do that again, I'd be surprised, because there seems to be a strategy he uses often on a map like this against a champion like this.
But even then, like, because Slash moves so fast when she's crouching around, she is one of the best champions of the game at sort of avoiding that acid spit. So even though she is also quite tankier than sort of standard and here with Nyx, kind of just really shutting down that acid option, which kind of cuts down some of the utility of Sorlag. You can see consistently k1llsen hasn't really had a rail to contest that damage from distance, but even though Toxic's hitting quite a lot of them, the pickups have been a bit too powerful for k1llsen so far.
So there's the plasma trail. Respectable amount of damage. 52 left, I mean, that's a good result. Oh wow, what a lovely prediction, knowing k1llsen was likely to go for that mega to undo all the work. I mean, that was just one read ahead.
Was indeed, and now he's looking at that heavy armor pickup. Doesn't have any armor himself, but does have quite a lot of health. Okay, the heavy armor has been picked up. Is he going to still win this one? He is indeed, and Toxic is going to take down the first 2 frags and is maintaining all of this momentum into the rest of the round now. k1llsen stuck on Nyx. We've already seen him make crazy comebacks with her. He's going to have to do the same thing now to go up 2 rounds, but it'll be difficult.
It's actually this is going to be quite important, actually. Toxic was out of rockets during that exchange, so he wasn't really able to do much of the... well, he actually wasn't really able to spam anything in that situation. Missed the rocket launcher along the way. Actually, I wonder if that's going to be unfortunate that he missed the rocket launcher on the way there.
Sure, with the speed he's getting ready is crazy. Heavy armor.
Oh, nice shot! Just needs a little bit of extra damage. Doesn't even a little bit of extra overkill right there. But I actually like the last minute change to the heavy machine gun, just in case the LG was out of range. the machine gun won't have that problem.
So tied up now. That's a lot better for toxjq. We saw before. You don't want to be down, especially if you're down a map. I mean, I guess there's infinitely more pressure on toxjq now, considering k1llsen has that map advantage on him. But there we go, actually swapping it up now, so it's going to be Slash versus Slash right from the start. Oh, wow, brilliant start for toxjq, being able to win that initial fight. Looks like k1llsen wasn't even trying to fight, was just trying to get away, but couldn't get away in time.
Fantastic spawn also was able to force the acid spit. That's going to be down for a significant amount of time. We may likely see toxjq be more aggressive now. He has less to worry about. He was winning this fight as well.
There's the read. Oh, wow. Makes the read that he's going to go up for the rocket launcher. toxjq has been doing a great job of just covering all of the escape options, and k1llsen, in less than a minute, has lost 2 of his 3 champions
And
already.
now he's going towards heavy. Is he going to spring the attack? Does he commit to this fight?
He sees the damage. He needs a little bit more to safely sort of go in for it, I suppose, but all the time in the world for k1llsen to come back. But last time we saw it just was not possible. toxjq was just playing that one step ahead all the time.
I mean, you can just look at how fast this champion can navigate this map.
Oh, and there's that plasma trail though, trying to pick up health. Hard to follow her considering the damage you take when you stand in it.
But you can see why this was toxjq's map choice. I mean, and Slash was his first pick. This is clearly a comfort zone.
Ooh, misses the jump, but fortunately, k1llsen isn't around to punish him for it. Oh, wow.
Immediately switching into the rocket. Is it going to be enough? Oh, the pillar blocks it twice!
1 health. toxjq was able to get away on 8 health. Unbelievable. k1llsen wasn't quite able to finish the job.
That was pretty crazy, actually, how k1llsen survived twice because the rocket disconnected with that small little pole after a 100 damage rocket, too. Yeah, the goal here is going to be to just deny Mega. Do not allow k1llsen to have any breathing room. He's got a significant advantage right here.
Oh, took quite a lot of damage there thanks to that rail. Oh, only just missed the follow-up, and k1llsen now able to stop him anyway. He caught an early spawn. k1llsen doesn't have any armor. Looks like toxjq just trying to get away. Heavy armor goes towards k1llsen. This could be the start of a good comeback.
The dangerous thing I would worry about is if it reaches a point where Scalebearer comes into play. Nyx does not like getting hit by a charge at all, no matter what her health is.
Well, 75 HP, right? If that's like a half-powered Scalebearer charge, roughly. You know, it does about a base of 50 and maximum about 125-ish. So you're looking at a nice range to take out someone like Nyx. Even then, you have to hit her first, and a double jump. Let's evade the charge quite well. Ghost walk, same thing.
Tries to head him off. Oh, misses that rail ever so slightly, but still aware where k1llsen was likely to be. And no doubt, if we saw that rail connect, we would have seen toxjq win there, I have no doubt.
Speaking of going in, there's that aggressive Ghost Walk. Still trying to fight, even though he didn't get the mega health. This could be a little bit risky from toxjq. Oh, and it will be punished. k1llsen isn't going to drop that rail, and now it's going to be Scalebearer, the final champion out of toxjq. And k1llsen going for this full comeback with just Nyx. I thought this was going to be all she wrote.
And that heavy is going to also go to k1llsen. I think toxjq didn't even want to risk taking it. Caught him from behind. I mean, he's in a very bad spot at the moment. And he manages to get the final rocket. This is going to be match point for k1llsen. One more round, and he's moving on. And toxjq is on the verge of elimination.
But that's it, right? That's how it can go. We knew that Nyx, the double jump avoids the bull rush. Rocket jumping is a universal way to deal with it. And aggressively catching him, you know, using the aggressive Ghost Walk. I mean, toxjq, he was trying to be ready for it, but there's only so many options you can cover. But it looks like at the very least, toxjq is going to start with Slash again. Same thing with k1llsen. k1llsen 1 round away from eliminating toxjq and moving 1 step closer to qualifying for Dreamhack Winter. But toxjq, he needs to win this round to just tie things up in this map, let alone the game or the whole series. toxjq has his work cut out for him for sure.
Wow. toxjq has done a huge chunk of damage. There we go.
It's a good way of starting off. There's plenty of health, plenty of armor. Even more so now he gets the mega health.
But he did have a fantastic start last time, and he just wasn't able to seal it. Wasn't able to finish the job.
Still though, k1llsen respawned near the heavy armor, so not a terrible spawn point in sort of retaliation.
Doesn't quite land it.
jumps as well, but toxjq not wanting to jump too hard, I think, doesn't want to overcommit. Leave himself nowhere to go. Has plenty of weapons, at the very least. Is he going to try and get in close? Or is he just going to try and poke down the damage with that rails?
I mean, toxjq really enjoys this kind of playstyle on this map, where it's essentially, you know, sort of just land those rails from distance, harass them, make them very uncomfortable. And when the time is right to go in, you know, she has that mobility, and he has the reactions and the movement to pretty much put the two together. Oh my days!
Jump, and that immediate Ghost Walk, I think, popped in retaliation. Yes, it was.
Ooh,
oh,
nice.
Nice mid-air rail, though. This is going to be tough for toxjq.
I mean, if toxjq gets hit by one more rail now, he's going to go down. So he's got to be very, very careful.
Oh, that's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, he's not going to use that teleporter. That would be suicide.
And just like that, immediately back up to full health and armor. That 1v1 though, k1llsen. Oh, he's going to stick to it and get the better of the trade in the end. Now they're evened out next to next. Oh,
Fantastic respawn.
I knew he was going to be there. Took damage where he could. Now toxjq, painfully low on health. No armor at all.
I mean, he pretty much spawned behind in that situation, because the second he ate that, it allowed k1llsen to pretty much just run back and collect Mega, and now that's going to be down for quite a substantial amount of time. And toxjq is going to pretty much be forced to stick to the bottom of this map. He's not really going to have a lot of freedom over where he wants to go, especially at the higher points, where you can clearly see that k1llsen is kind of being able to sort of freely run around, because he's now got that clear advantage. toxjq has been able to heal up a little bit though, so we're sort of going back to that back and forth, but
hey, we said this is the pace we expected to see. Two players knowing that they're not going to overcommit to a fight unless they've got a good chance
going
of
in
winning
for
it.
the kill. Is k1llsen ready for this? No. Just in case there was a nix there. He had no choice. He had to, I mean.
The problem is, though, that shot took him down to less than 80 health. So
that
one read has put him down into dangerous rail territory.
4 HP. I mean, that was a ridiculous shot anyway, let alone him being almost dead. He's springing the trap.
Mega health going to be up soon, but does he go for it? We can see that toxjq is in that rough direction, but not looking to it yet.
k1llsen's he's gonna dedicate to this one, and there we go.
Like
Lovely.
Took the rail shot and then immediately teleported back through, masking where he went. Oh, but toxjq found him!
But he couldn't get the shot. I mean, that's still going to show k1llsen, you know, that in that exact moment, toxjq, you know, he had his number, even though he wasn't able to finish it.
Oh, that phase shift, right, well timed.
Just perfect timing.
And then toxjq immediately getting away.
Yeah.
I love it. The players with the knowledge.
Nice answer.
Phase shift to defend against phase shift, and then rocket launcher to defend against their phase shift. What a sequence. Oh, well, there it is, that mid-air. Ever so slightly too late to look at it. Now this could be the exchange. He gets the rail from the hip too. Didn't even go down the sights for that one.
It's a substantially large amount of armor compared to toxjq. Quickly undone, but a lovely read on the shield, knowing toxjq was going to try and get the armor. He is rewarded with a heavy armor too. toxjq's down to Scale Bearer. It's going to be Scale Bearer or bust. This is his last chance.
Okay, problem is here now though. toxjq, he has Scale Bearer versus Nyx and Sorlag. 40 seconds to kill both of them.
Or at least one to even things out.
He's gonna have to be careful, even taking out the Nyx at this point, unless he can get a really good rail while she's weak, then the mega health. Just topped her up very nicely.
The danger is that he's not going to be able to hit her with a charge, because k1llsen will easily be able to retaliate with a Ghost Walk, so he's going to have to force the Ghost Walk out first, and then hope that he can get a frag afterwards.
There's a charge, but he gets it! k1llsen. That's a wonderful decision just to sit there and wait.
But the Ghost Walk is still up. This is why it gets dangerous.
But he hasn't got any armor. There's the Ghost Walk to avoid the rail.
If he gets a rail right now, it's over. If he gets one more, he hasn't got any armor yet.
4 seconds.
Oh,
heavy
there we
armor.
go.
That's it. That heavy armor pickup has secured everything. k1llsen eliminates toxjq from the tournament and will be advancing through in this loser side. I mean, toxjq, I'm happy that he was comfortable with going for off-meta picks. You know, the slash potentially, even though both players picked it, but the Scale Bearer, I respect the decision, I respect the attempt, but ultimately just couldn't put it to as good use as we've seen him do so before. But I feel like that's why Scale Bearer isn't as meta, right? He's a decent champion by his own merits, but can be countered by certain things, and clearly k1llsen is comfortable fighting against that champion and knows how to kind of exploit the weaknesses there.
It was also a mixture of the fact that they both had really good accuracy in Blood Covenant, but by the end of that, k1llsen just, when he landed a shot and the kill was guaranteed, he took it. Like 100%, no messing around. Not to say toxjq didn't, but k1llsen's just awareness of when he was able to seize an opportunity on both of those maps was really, really superb. I do think, unfortunately, you know, the Scale Bearer pick wasn't really able to get I guess the Scale Bearer wasn't really able to achieve what toxjq wanted to achieve with that pick. But I think one of the most prominent things we saw on that final map was in the first half of those rounds, the back and forth that took place as to who picks what first. The first champions they would pick on a read of each other going with a different champion kind of set the tone for how the rest of the map was going to go. And the second they sort of settled at the last minute on both players going slash first, that's where the rounds kind of went by a very traditional start. But before that, it was really an immense back and forth until they both got a bit more comfortable of, right, who are we settling on, because this fight is either in my favor because of my champion versus yours, or the other way around.
Indeed, but that is going to be the end of another series for the day. We're going to get our next one set up in a few minutes' time, but while we do that, we're going to go to a very short break, so please don't go anywhere. We'll be